Hello and welcome to today's conversation at Arbury Road, where we are discussing refugees in Europe with a focus on theatre as a means of integration and understanding. Now, I'm delighted to be joined by three very special guests who have all worked together as members of the Psychedelight Theatre Company. Now, this is a company formed of refugees and Europeans who together have created work that has toured 13 countries, sharing the stories and experiences of refugees using comedy and satire. They also run workshops where they help with the integration of refugees within local populations. So let me introduce them. First of all, we have Sophie Besse, who is the artistic director.
Nice to meet you.
We have Baraa Halabieh, who is a Syrian interpreter, actor, and refugee rights campaigner, who is settled in the UK and was a cast member in the production Borderline, which was a satire of the Calais jungle, and Welcome to the UK, a play about the asylum process in Britain. And we have Tamara Astor, an actress and musician who also leads workshops bringing together women of different backgrounds, including women seeking asylum and women in Europe. So welcome to you all. Thank you for joining me today.
Thank you for having us.
Lovely to see you all. So first of all, to start off, a question for you, Sophie, about the role of theatre as a means to communicate the refugee situation. Now, most people in Europe get their understanding of the refugee crisis from the news. In the worst case scenario, there's the right-wing propaganda with its sort of anti-immigrant rhetoric. But even the most sympathetic news coverage tends to only generate pity for refugees. What can theatre do that news coverage can't?
Well, for me, my aim with the creation of Borderline, I mean, this ensemble, was to, challenge the negative image, whether it's the fear or the pity, and to change the approach, because we used satire, so comedy. First, I'd say on a general note, the use of humor is something that I strongly believe in. When you work with people who went through very difficult journey, it's a different way to express your emotions. The use of satire can generate very violent images, but in a way that is digestible for the audience, if that makes sense. For example, we have a scene in Borderline where you have a frozen refugee that the policemen carry like an ice cube, because he traveled on a refrigerated lorry. So it's really fun. But then when you think about it after, obviously it's also very violent. And I think it's yes, theatre has a responsibility to raise awareness, to challenge people's thoughts on what's happening in our society. And if you make it in a digestible way, in a different way, I think that's what the challenge we wanted, to say, you know what, you're going to find them fun and handsome and talentful, and you want to have a drink with them after that. And we always did that after our shows, having live music and dancing with the audience. And so show that they are just people, really, and if anything, very resourceful, resilient people who traveled all over the world to come and seek refuge here. So it's not I think, and there's something very human in theater, because you're here on stage in front of the people, and you can meet after, you can chat. That's something you don't have in a newspaper or on TV.
You can definitely, see theatre as a kind of two-way exchange, between the performers and between the audience. And as you say about having a chat, you take this, one step further, because you hosted question and answer sessions with your audiences. And was this, you took the play to 13 different countries. Did you have these question and answer sessions as part of the tour everywhere you visited?
I'm not. I think so. I think that's our format. We, even when we can, we do workshop as well. so that people can meet before or after the show. So our Together workshop, we usually tour them with the shows. And so, yes, we try to generate as many encounters as possible with the people.
Do you remember any of the kind of questions that people were asking or the conversations? I realize I've only just watched Borderline. I watched the filmed version, but you're actually performing, quite some time ago. So this might be a bit of an ask, but do you remember any of the conversations that arose, particularly in Europe, as you were touring with any audience members?
Well, one of the questions that kept coming back was, how is it for you now? You're safe, right? You're in the UK. That's great, isn't it?
Right.
Like, actually not at all. So that's why we decided to create the show about the situation in the UK, because we thought, okay, so people don't know what happens.
Yeah,
they have the idea that once you're here, that's perfect. You've got your flat, your job, and that's it.
Yeah.
When it's actually sometimes even harder once you arrive here than before.
So the conversation led to the creation of more work.
Yeah. I remember Baraa was always answering on this one, the 28 days and all of that. So, a strong advocate of that.
Yeah. You mentioned humour and that being an approach to exploring and reliving these experiences that you then created and turned into theatre. Baraa, is that something, because so I'm thinking back to having watched this, having watched Borderline recently, and some of the scenes that unexpectedly made me laugh out loud. I wasn't expecting to watching this play. I thought it might be a bit funny, but I was actually laughing out loud. Were scenes where you highlight the level of misunderstanding of what refugees need. There's one scene where a girl arrives as a volunteer with her little guitar, and she announces that, I feel the pain of the Syrian people. I know what they need. They need to hear me sing. So she sits next to you and starts singing Bob Marley. And I found it really, really funny. But is this a thing that, in order, as a means of surviving these awful experiences, that you look for, or you laugh at the absurdity of some of it? Is that something
exactly even when we were at the camp, when we were living these days in the jungle, we used to laugh of such situation which happened with volunteers or people who turning up to volunteer for the weekend and go back, and we used to laugh because at the end of the day you need to go through the day and we're gonna live it. So the satirical of life and of the situation and the absurdity of it, it was hilarious.
And you highlight as well. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, and that's why when Sophie wanted to do the play about the jungle and our journey and the life there, it wasn't that difficult because all these moments, tiny moments of the daily life in the jungle, it was engraved in our brain, these funny moments.
Because you have the fashion show as well. So can you tell the followers as well about this? Was this a real experience in the Calais jungle?
Yeah.
What happened what was that?
So there was a dome in the jungle where some workshop used to take place, and they organized a fashion show. The idea came from that the warehouse, many people donate crazy funny stuff which no one gonna need, like wedding dresses, high heels,
bikini,
bikinis, and so I remember the organizer of Good Chance Theatre, who was running the dome, they organized a fashion show using all these items, and the aim was not only to create a funny show for the residents of the jungle to laugh, but also to highlight that sending unnecessary items, wasting the time of volunteers and the aid workers who have to sort these items and send them back.
Yeah.
So that's also to highlight and raise awareness about, please send what we need, not
It's absolutely absurd, the idea that someone would send a wedding dress to a refugee camp. But you created some theatre out of it as well. So that's something that happened there. Having watched Borderline, something that I suppose sort of occurred to me watching it is, we sit there as an audience, seeing you all on stage as actors, and you're all, and you mentioned this, Sophie, united by the fact that they are warm, creative, this includes Tamara and Baraa here on the stage, funny individuals. And it hits you that it's just a case of chance or, your circumstance in life that some of those people standing on the stage are refugees and others are not. So Baraa, I wondered if I could ask you, was there a specific moment you remember back in Syria when you realized that you would have to leave your home, you would have to leave your country, that your life had changed, you had become a refugee?
Yeah, to be honest, like so for me as a person, I traveled a lot. So I was born in Dubai and lived there for 18 years, moved back to Syria in 2003 with my family. And I had to leave in 2014 because of my political opinion, and I had to leave because I was in real danger. So I still remember it was the 26th of October 2014 when I
Yeah.
decided to leave home. It was really difficult night, and to be honest, I never thought it will be for that long. When I left to Turkey, I thought it will be a couple of months or a year and things will be sorted and come back. And now it's over 6 years and no one knows how it will end or when we're going back. It's really hard. And believe me, there is no refugee who doesn't think every day about the day they left.
Right.
We think every day if the day to go back will come or not, to be honest.
Yeah.
So it lives with us.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, all the refugee performers in your productions have inevitably suffered and experienced really, traumatic events. How do you, I mean, so in fact, it's just to give some examples for the people following. So in Borderline, we see a young man who's being beaten by and assaulted by some police. I believe they're French police, but you can correct me if that's correct.
That's why it's a bit blurry.
Oh, it's blurry. Okay, no allegations.
No. It's both. Yeah. Like he was remembering the police in Sudan. I think that's what you referred to. But when he wakes up, he's in the Calais jungle and he was beaten up by the police, because actually that's what Mohammed says. Like it's an experience that happened in both countries.
Right. So we see that. We see several cast members being packed into a vehicle by a people smuggler. And in Welcome to the UK, where you have women asylum seekers joining the company, some of those members of the company have experienced human trafficking. How, as a company, do you create scenes out of what must personally be, really traumatic experiences for individuals? What's your process of bringing that experience to the stage?
I'd say it depends on the people. First, some people are more comfortable talking about things or have an idea already of what they want to do. Baraa was very clear, for example, that he wanted to talk about the 28 days and Welcome to the UK. But some other people might need a bit more help or struggle more with English. So, for example, we've had what I called silent scenes or visual scenes where in Welcome to the UK, for example, Abdurrahman remembers a nightmare that he does, and he wanted to raise awareness about that there's PTSD when you arrive in this country, especially when you're stuck for months and months with not being allowed to work or to socialize in any way because you don't have any money to do that, you can't study. So that's where the PTSD can really hit really hard. Because when you're in survival mode, you just do what you have to do. But once you're stuck in a bedroom, that's another story. And he suffered from a lot of nightmares. So he wanted to share that, to raise awareness about that. So we did a silent scene that he built. I made him choose the actors he wanted, and we really, as a sculpture, he placed the people on stage. He chose the music he wanted. Tamara created this music for him. She's absolutely unbelievable at just feeling what is needed, and he was very precise. I remember telling him, so he said, oh, they have a gun. I was like, okay, so how do they hold their gun? Or like this, how do they hold her hair? So he really redesigned the scene. and I think he felt he could really share something like that easier than saying a text in English that he would struggle with the words possibly, or so we have different. Mohammed in Borderline, he chose us to dance this scene because he's a dancer, he's an amazing dancer, and he didn't want to talk, he didn't want to say what happened, but he wanted to dance it. In Welcome to the UK, Debbie, the human trafficking, she wanted to sing it. She loves singing. And it was a tricky one because it's a song where she it's a song. What's the song, Tamara, again? One man in, one, what?
Deliver me, deliver.
No, the one man in, one man out.
It was based on the Okie Kokie.
Oh, yeah, that's it. But it's instead of the hokey cookie, it's one man in, one man out, in, out, in, out, so it's quite, but she wanted that. And I remember that at the beginning, we were looking for the words and she was not, we were trying to be maybe a bit more vague, and because I wasn't sure how far she wanted to go. And at the end of the day, I took her on the side. I said, Debbie, what do you want people to know? And she said, I want them to know everything. I said, okay, so then let's go for it. And it's trusting that people are not little miserable thing, like they're strong. She's a very strong woman, and she can do it. It's her story. If she feels ready to share it. But then my choice was to bring the whole ensemble on stage and to dance behind her, so she wouldn't be alone when she sings that. Yeah. And so we did a little cabaret kind of scene. So with a big smile, that. Yeah. Again, I guess to protect her a bit and to protect the audience a bit as well, to say, look, she's that strong that she can do that with a big smile on her face, and that the whole company is behind her. So you can take the song. It's okay. It's so yeah, I try to adjust to every person depending on their skills, their personality, their personal stories, what they enjoy, what they're good at. Some people are very high status, some are a bit more shy. It depends.
And does the process function as a kind of, I don't know, like a cathartic kind of therapy for I maybe can ask Baraa this question, but as well as the function being you're expressing your story to an audience, is actually creating the work, is that helpful at all?
Yeah,
in
of course.
Reliving it on.
Yeah, at the beginning it was hard, especially that it wasn't clear what we want to do and how we're going to do it at the first couple of days. And there was the barrier of language where we spend time translating till we find the right tempo, and we stop translating, we start understanding each other without translating, we start seeing where we're going, we start, as Sophie said, for example, when Abdurrahman directed his scene about the dream, we knew what we want to tell the people, what we want to share with the people. And Sophie, to be honest, from the beginning, she was very clear, like, she wants us to share what we are happy and feel comfortable to share, because Psychedelight created a really safe environment and platform, because it's really important to feel safe in this room where we're rehearsing, because most of us, we didn't meet each other before. So to break the barrier of language and to become, because we became like a family now. It's, I don't see Borderline and Psychedelight Theatre Company is like a cast and management. No, it's became like family business.
Okay.
Yeah, we travel.
And Baraa is our producer.
Yeah, it's seriously, it became like a family business thing.
That's really lovely.
And it's amazing. And like, we are really feel craving to be back on stage and travel. Yeah, hopefully soon we'll be able to share more and to discuss and highlight new topics. Hopefully.
Good, because I look forward to seeing you all on stage. I really enjoyed what I've seen. And Tamara,
sorry, in terms of cathartic, I mean, the Debbie, the song was definitely one, and the other one I would say, if there's time, was Abdurrahman when he created the smuggler. So in Borderline was a very interesting experience. He's not the one who's in this movie because they kept changing depending on people's availabilities. But he had just arrived from the Calais jungle, and we had started already the creation for 1 week. And he was really in a place, very angry place, like 10 months in the jungle, very hard stories with the smugglers, a lot of hatred, a lot of pain, and he was in a very dark place. And I remember that I was a bit worried of, how will I be able to, help him be on stage and find his place, And one day I remember I told him, Abdurrahman, could you show me what is a smuggler? Because I don't know what is a smuggler. I've never met a smuggler. And he went on stage, said, yeah, of course I can show you. I was like, okay, can you show me how he walks? How does a smuggler walk, Abdurrahman? He started walking like that. Said, oh, can you show me a bit bigger? And so he made it just a bit bigger. And then, okay, so how do you think they brush their hair? And he started creating this amazing character, and yeah, we just pushed it a bit more to become like satirical. And yes, he definitely told me he's the like, yeah, that has been a huge relief of anger to be able to embody this character and make it as silly and as horrible as possible,
Yeah, like talk about facing your demons. He's becoming it and taking it to an audience. Yeah. Tamara, I'm going to come to you. So throughout, you talked about missing the theatre, but throughout the pandemic, you've been leading workshops online, and you bring together women from all different backgrounds, and you have regulars who come back every week. And these are women, some are seeking asylum, some are European, some live even further afield, but they keep coming back. What is it that draws these women together from such diverse backgrounds?
Well, as you said, first of all, I can't believe that it has been possible to create a community on Zoom. It's kind of remarkable how kind of intimate and connected we can feel. Of course, we're all looking forward to meeting in real life. But yes, I think what draws us together is that we don't necessarily talk about how sort of disparate our backgrounds are as such. We use games and yes, sort of theatre and music to find common ground and something that we all enjoy. And I try and do sort of physical comedy type games in the Zoom windows that really kind of open people up and don't need much language. And Sophie will laugh because this is my favorite phrase, but I always try and like join people on their plane of imagination.
Yeah, I love
this. Yeah, it's a lovely phrase.
Rather than the other way around. So take what they're giving to us and try and gently put it in a direction rather than come with a fixed agenda of this is what we're going to do. We're all very different people, but yes, we find commonality through relaxing and enjoying each other's companies.
Yeah, you certainly do, as I witnessed when you let me join one of the workshops recently. Before they were online, you were leading workshops housed at Shakespeare's Globe, is that right? The Together workshops. And
so we were about to start.
Oh, you're about to start. Is that post-pandemic? Well, that's
So, I mean, we started the Together workshop in November 2016, just after Borderline. Originally, I created them as a aftercare or whatever you call it place for Borderline, because I thought, okay, we did 6 weeks all together. I don't want to suddenly say, okay, bye guys, that was nice, have fun, I wanted to have a place where we could continue to meet and create and do stuff and invite more people to join. And so that's how it started. Then we toured the workshop. We went, the three of us, with Mohamed to Turkey. We did some there at the border, Syrian border, not very far. And so we were hosted by different venues. So Theatre Delhi, Center for Burger, Center for Reconciliation and Peace. And I'm thinking I'm missing one. but never mind. And yes, we were about to start at the Globe because they had an accessible space and they were keen to have us, which is fantastic. So hopefully we're in touch now. We're going to go back at the Globe next September or something.
From your experience of leading workshops that help to integrate refugees with local populations, what would you advise is needed? You know, if you're thinking about if you know, governments in various countries or other organizations wanted to create schemes, what have you kind of learned from this experience in terms of, you know, what you would say is most needed for integration?
I'd say, well, just a space where you can meet. That's what I realized, that there were a lot of workshops for refugees, for young people, for mothers, for whatever, but there was not a lot, or not that I knew, places where you could meet with local people. The only way local people could meet with asylum seeker was by doing volunteering, whether it was in the Calais jungle or in London in various charities. But then you're not on the same level, aren't you? You know, it's a different position. So for me, it was really to create, the workshop is free for everyone, whether you're asylum seekers or European. It's the same, you're on the same level. And then I guess it's to embrace diversity and empower people, and strongly believe that a 2 years old or an Afghani or disabled person has as much to bring as anyone else, and that we all have something to share, and we can all have fun together. There's always a way to find common grounds, as Tamara said. But yeah.
Also,
Baraa, sorry, you're going to say something.
Just that it's in sort of direct opposition to the hostile environment policy, where you don't know where, if you're in temporary accommodation, you don't know when you're going to be moved, and any sort of community links could be ripped from you at a moment's notice. Whereas, and these kind of barriers to building up community that are seemingly, well, are deliberate in the hostile environment policy, we're trying to break those barriers down.
As you mention a UK Home Office policy, there is something I did want to ask you. I'm sure you're aware that the Home Office has set out plans for a new post-Brexit immigration plan, and various sort of human rights campaigners are very concerned about the proposed treatment of refugees in this proposal. And one particular point of concern is the treatment of refugees who've arrived in the UK without a visa. You know, they've used irregular means of travel to enter the country. And this would mean they're denied the right to indefinite leave, they're denied family reunification, there's a threat of deportation. It's looking pretty ugly, I think we can all agree. But Priti Patel has described the use of irregular means of travel as unnecessary. That's the word she uses in this plan. Given your wealth of experience, I mean, Baraa, yourself, and then also all the people you've worked with, to Sophie and Tamara as well, how would you respond to this definition of irregular routes as being something that are kind of an unnecessary thing to do?
You're muted, Baraa.
Seeker, you can't claim asylum from the country, from outside the country. For example, to claim asylum in the UK, I have to be in the UK to claim asylum. I can't claim asylum from Turkey. So that's in the law. So I can't ask what, there is no other routes. Of course, if it was possible to go, when I was in Turkey, to go to the British Embassy in Istanbul and claim asylum, of course I would do that. No one would love to risk their life and jump on a dinghy and walk in the middle of nowhere and live in Calais for a couple of months. No one would love to do that. But that was the only way to do it.
So she's not giving any option, basically.
Yeah, there is no other option.
Yeah.
And also for all migrants and that become it's very easy to become undocumented. I was just reading. I'll forward you the report that that was made in April from the Joint Council for the Welfare of Immigrants, and they're setting out recommendations to make it cheaper to renew, because I mean, again, Baraa will know a lot more than me, but about the sheer expense of renewing renewing your status, and yes, I'll forward you the link.
Thank you. Another point, we're sort of about to run out of time, but another point that's mentioned in the plan, because I'll add that the general public in Britain is being asked to complete a questionnaire at the moment about their views on this proposal. So it is quite good to discuss it. One of the other points is that the Home Office wants to introduce what's called a one-stop assessment process, where you have to provide all your evidence up front and you don't get the opportunity to appeal during your claim. Are you able to give us any insight into why it is important to have the space to appeal and to provide evidence, why that might be necessary, and why this might be worrying?
To who is the questioner?
Oh, to anyone who wants to answer. I mean, from your experience, are you aware of people who maybe there was a delay in receiving and in acquiring evidence or reports?
Oh, yeah. In the company, I mean, our youngest performer, Nakib, he had he needed time to gather all the documents he needed. And also, I guess the first time he was quite young, he was 16 when he arrived, you know. So, for example, I don't want to go in his personal life, of course, but at some point they asked for a medical record to prove that there has been an assault, and he didn't know that. So he had to go back and ask, go back via email, of course, but so, you know, you might not be aware of exactly what the authority will want for documents, especially if you're very young, and you know, so, and sometimes you lost track of people because, of course, you know, people move a lot, so it's not that easy to get the information. You live with nothing, you live with your phone, that's all. So we have to remember that it's war zone, or you know, so it's not like you have all your files nightly together in your bag and you're ready, you know. It's
I was always struck as well in the question and answer sessions at the end of the shows, how people in the audience could relate and told their own stories of having Home Office documents arriving after the appointment, or there were lots of those stories of willful kind of bad admin.
I think there are huge delays happening in the Home Office at the moment. I heard recently that some tribunals are sitting empty because cases weren't coming in. So the inefficiency is clearly on the Home Office's part for a large account of it. Moving away, because that's a serious issue there, but moving back to the work that you're doing, are you planning to create more theatre? You mentioned that you'd like to be back on stage. Do you have plans post-pandemic? Are there any sort of issues you've already been thinking about, or maybe events, projects that you'd like to create?
We still want to tour Borderline. I mean, because we were still, I mean, we did it in Shanghai online, fortunately, because of lockdown. So that's definitely a play that we feel is timeless, and that is unfortunately still very accurate. So we are planning to do that. And otherwise, we also created another play called Mohammed and Peter, raising awareness about home countries, because as Baraa said, people are not aware of how much they miss their homes There's always this idea that refugees are coming to our country to steal our benefits or our houses or our jobs, you know, but we have no idea how painful it is to miss your home and your family every day. I mean, in lockdown, we all complain not being able to go and visit our parents, grandparents. I mean, they haven't seen their family for years, you know. They haven't had a hug for years. And so we should, if lockdown could bring us one thing, is that just a tiny bit of feeling of what that means. And for me, yeah, Mohammed is Sudanese. He lives in my home, and I was when all the events happened in Sudan, I could see how painful it was for him. He went to Brussels, he went to Geneva to do all the demonstrations, Sudanese demonstration, you know. And I thought, okay, that's what I would like to do now, is to go to Sudan, and that we realize what they left. And so yeah, Mohammed and Peter is this new play. It's a
New
road
project.
trip to Sudan, and Peter going to Sudan following Mohammed. Yeah, I hope we'll do about Syria and Afghanistan, and you know, that's my project, yeah, to celebrate their home countries.
Excellent. Well, I have to wrap things up now because I'm afraid we've run out of time, but thank you so much for joining me today. It's been really informative, and I look forward to seeing all of you on a stage, hopefully sometime in the very near future. So
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.